naturally once you know and apply the philosophy in daily living.
Thank you very much. I'm mindful, and I'm being reminded as well, that we need to allow time for questions, and I think that time is now. Have we questions for our panelists? I can see one over there. Yes. Is there a mic there?
Thank you. Actually, I have one question for all three of you, and I have a question for Reverend Jessima and Reverend Ross. I'll briefly present them. First question is for all three of you. Now, as I have observed, when religious leaders of all the three religions that you all are representing, I see that Buddhism and the religion of Islam have obviously imposed certain restrictions in terms of, say, when they were requesting for the Bhikkhuni Sasana in Buddhism, it was after 3 refusals that they were granted.
Can I just remind you, this is about robes, not religion per se. Do you have a question about dress?
No, I'm relating my common question actually.
But can you sort of gear it towards the topic of dress and robes?
Yeah, I was referring they were particularly targeting at, with restrictions. So even in Islam, the dress, in terms of dress, they have, obviously restrictions. So how do you all see the inclusion of women in terms of dressing and all that into the religions? I only see the distinction of liberal mindedness in Catholicism and Christianity. That's the common question. How do you all see the inclusion of women into religions in terms of dresses and all that? And particularly for Sister Rose, the question is going to be a bit offensive, but if I were to be very concise, I have been in Chennai at the time that you have been.
I think we've had one question. The question you're asking is dress too restrictive for women? Can we just stick to that?
Sure.
Okay,
good.
Yes, can we have? Would you like to begin?
Yes, but I must say the original teaching of the Buddha, that's 2,500 years ago, it's not the same. It has changed much. So we need to go back to the Buddha. That we never discriminate between men and women. We got equal status. But down the ages, I think men should always have equality. That is it.
I would like to say is, actually there is no restriction as such, because in the Quran we have what is called the contextual on the one hand and the categorical on the other. The dress falls into the contextual, and during the time of the revelation of Islam, it was a decadent society, and there had to be restrictions, especially considering the value of modesty, suitable dress, because the women were in a vulnerable position and needed protection in that society. But as time went on and the spirituality and the thinking came, and also there is an element called rationalizing and reasoning called Muktiya, which I can't explain. But this is the restrictiveness came on account of the value of modesty applied to a decadent society. So I wouldn't say it's restrictive, as I said before, and I repeat, fairly liberating. And also, I'm just a layperson, I'm not a reverend. Sister Rose.
If I understood the question clearly, I would agree with what Jessima said. For me, the robes, they empower me
row. Do we have a mic for the front row? Just here.
Can I ask each one of you, what are the common negative encounters that you come across when you move around in the public in those roles?
Thank you. Admirably direct. Sister Rose. Sister Rose? Equally, would you like to begin?
Because it is self-imposed. I mean, nobody is forcing us to wear this. We like it because it is better than otherwise. So I think all the plus points are there for wearing
Have you ever, has anybody ever interpreted it in a negative way?
I don't know if people interpret it in a negative way. For me, it's a total impression within our my center, but the way people interpret it is not the same. They interpret it in another way. I sometimes felt that as a university teacher, I had a better status than as a bhikkhuni because they frown on the bhikkhuni. So sometimes it could be like that.
Jessamine?
Not all the time. For me, it didn't matter. What other people thought didn't matter much to me.
Negative, maybe one solitary incident stands out in me. I told you before 1789, I wasn't covering my head, I just used to cover over religious functions. But when I started covering, I know a very good friend of mine who was abroad, she came up and she said, look, have you got into this kind of thing where you're going to be oppressed as a president? What is this, Jesima? Where is your dignity kind of business? There were one or two encounters like that. And sometimes conservative women in my own community, sometimes when I wear this, it sort of comes out and your hair is so they sort of nicely sort of put it over and try to put it up. So that kind of negative encounter, which can be pretty annoying. So, but now, however, people have got used to the fact, and I don't encounter that kind of negativity, but I see sometimes when I go to a place which is not familiar with my presence, question mark in their eyes, and then they ask me, what are you wearing, what do you represent, and that is the time if it is a crowd with only women, I take off my shawls and all and tell them exactly what role plays, what item of clothing plays what role in my system. So those are the encounters, but on the whole, they have been very pleasant and I enjoy what I wear. And I'm afraid I've never received any kind of negativeness from men. They have been quite friendly, I guess. So I suppose this is men-friendly kind of thing.
My experience also has been positive. I have experienced.
I know we've come to the end. Perhaps this is the organizer's way of reminding us, but can we just hear Sister Rose before we finish?
I haven't experienced any negativity as such because of my roots. In my personal experience, on the contrary, I have been able to reach out to people, and people have felt free to approach me.
Well, I'm getting sort of semaphore signals from the back there. Is it a yay or a nay? One more question?
Just one more question, please.
Okay, yes.
I have a question and a comment. Question for Ms. Ismail. You said you adapted the Muslim dress to fit the Sri Lankan identity, and wouldn't you say that that is in some way compromising religion for the socio-political identity? And for those who are less liberal in your community, wouldn't that be seen as a negative compromise? And my comment is that I really appreciate this session, particularly in the times that we are facing in Sri Lanka today. And I'm beginning to wonder whether it's actually a gender issue, because the people at the forefront of the Bodhu Bala Sena or whatever Muslim body, they're all men. And I think these are wonderful spokespersons, and the common thing is that they're all women. So I'm wondering whether that is a positive thing and should be at the forefront more.
I'm not answering the last question, I don't think it's meant for me. But as far as compromising, no. I'm not compromising any religious issue here, because I have taken the Quranic injunctions into consideration, and also what I have emphasized is my Muslimness, the fact that I am trying to translate the kind of modesty which should be in our demeanor, the dignity of femininity, womanhood or whatever, into the dress that I am wearing and to the kind of life I lead. No way am I compromising the religion, because the religion is dictated to in the Quran by the kind of values that our dress is supposed to reflect.
Thank you. What is the word from the back of the house? I think we've come to the end. I'm sorry. Please.
If you need a real good religious life, any religion is good. I think we all like people who are religious, because they are good. Their nature, their human nature is refined. They are not gross and vulgar. They are easy. So I love all religious people. They are good.
Before we began, Jez and I were discussing, I think that's a wonderful remark, and I think it's a very Sri Lankan remark. Because in the West, very often, having a religious life is rather a dirty secret. You have to sort of, guard rather carefully and make sure even your nearest don't get to know about it. So I'm delighted to hear that approach, and I think that is something very distinctive about life in Sri Lanka.
Religious conferences here and I find religious leaders are so lovely. They all speak the same language. And I don't know why there are different as far as the people are concerned. The leaders are real good people. Very noble, good, kind-hearted, easy.
Thank you so much. Now our leader, Ashok, by contrast, is very harsh and severe, telling us we have to finish.
Well, I'm sure we could go on for at least another half hour. Sadly, we have an orchestra to assemble up here. So, thank you very, very much, all four ladies. It's amazing to see ladies and gentlemen. There's a short story in there somewhere that the four people I managed to find were all ladies. There's a moral in that tale. Okay, there's lunch out there, there are rice packets, there's a restaurant there. Please go out. If I could ask you to vacate so we can set up for the orchestra. 1 o'clock sharp, Mozart in here. 1 o'clock sharp with Lakshman Joseph is there.